In this video, I'm going to transform more mobs into Italian Brain Rot Part 4. I've already made some videos transforming these mobs into Italian Brain Rot, and you liked it a lot, and this time I chose even more characters for us to recreate here in Minecraft. And the first one I'm going to transform will be Orangutini Ananassini, who is this monkey with a pineapple body, and the mob I chose to transform into him will be the pig. Here is his 3D model. So, as you should already know, I'm going to start by deleting all parts of his body until nothing is left. Now I'm going to start making Orangutini Ananassini from his belly, which will be the pineapple. On top of that, I'm going to create a cube like this. Underneath the pineapple, I'm going to make his foot. And on top of the foot, I'm going to make the leg. Now, to avoid repeating all of this again, I'm going to select the two parts and duplicate them to the side. Now, on the left side, I'm going to make a cube like this to be the arm. Since this was very simple, I'm going to repeat the same thing on the other side. And now, it's time to make the head. I'm going to create a slightly smaller cube in front to be the monkey's face. A little further down, I'm going to create another cube to be his snout and mouth. On top of his head, I'm going to make this small detail of the pineapple. To make it better, I duplicated this several times, and this is how it turned out. It turned out very cool. Here in Minecraft, he turned out like this, and it's very cool. Take a look at this. He simply turned out identical to the original character, but it became a Minecraft version that I think turned out even better. I tried to make him very similar, and I think I succeeded. Only his face, I think, turned out a little strange. And not to mention, I forgot to make his ear, but the rest turned out very cool. His animation also turned out very good. Not to mention, he also has a lot of health. I'm hitting him with this sword and he deals a lot of damage. And look, my sword is diamond. I needed to hit him several times for me to win, but I want to see if he can beat Tatatatat Sahur. Let's see. Who are you rooting for? I think Orangutini Ananassini will win, and he unfortunately lost. But since I created a habitat for each character I recreate here in Minecraft, let's also build another one for Orangutini Ananassini. And the best place to build this will be exactly here. So I'm going to start by replacing all these cobblestone blocks with yellow concrete. This is because I'm going to need to raise the walls with this same block. So this wall doesn't have just one solid color. I'm going to make some stripes with these green blocks. Now I'm going to use a slightly darker block to give this construction shading. And in this part where there are yellow concrete blocks, I'm going to use a slightly lighter yellow block. In addition, I'm going to make the floor with grass blocks. Here in this area, I'm going to make a small lake, and around that, I'm going to place sand. To finish, I'm going to plant an acacia tree, and in addition, I'm going to plant some grass. I made a small tree house for Orangutini Ananassini, and this is the final result. I really like this tree construction I made. The wall also turned out very cool. I was inspired by this part of the pineapple, which is yellow and green, and I think this turned out very cool. And since he's a monkey, I also made a tree house and a small lake here for him to take a bath. Since I really like this construction, the score I give it will be 7 out of 10. And as for Orangutini Ananassini that I really liked, the score I give it will be 7 out of 10. Give will be 9 out of 10. Leave your rating below in the comments, because now we're going to the next character, who will be Gangster Futura Criminalera. And the character is a foot who dresses like a rapper. He even has gold chains. And the mob I chose to transform into him will be the sheep. Here is her 3D model. So I'm going to delete all the legs. I'm going to delete this part of her body and even the head. I'm going to start making the Gangster Futura Criminalera from the foot, which will be his body. In front of the foot, I'm going to make the big toe. Now create a slightly smaller cube on the side to be the other toes. On top of the foot, I'm going to make a cube like this to be the rest of his body. I think this is a piece of the leg. On top of that, I'm going to create the cap he wears. But the cap also needs the brim, which is that thing that goes in front. Now make his glasses. To finish, I'm going to make the necklace, and here in front, the pendant. And our Gangster Futura Criminalera is ready. In Minecraft, the Gangster Futura Criminalera turned out like this, guys. His animation turned out very cool. I know I keep saying that I liked it a lot, but this one really turned out very cool. Look at that! His animation turned out very cool, I think, just like the other character. This one also attacks anyone he sees on the side. And look, when he walks, he gives a little jump. Wow, this turned out very cool. But I have to be very careful because he deals a lot of damage, actually. Oh no, I didn't have time. But look, with this character standing still, we can observe even more his details, especially this chain that took a lot of work, since it's very difficult to create small details in a pixel. But now, I want to see a battle between the Gangster Futura versus the Orangutini Ananassini. And let's see who will win this battle. Who are you rooting for? What's your favorite character? And let's go! Let's go! And look, Orangutini Ananassini won this time. Even though the Gangster Futura Criminalera lost, let's make a habitat for him here in our zoo, where I created several inhabitants for each of the characters I created. And I think the best place to build this will be right here at this marker. So I'm going to start by replacing all these cobblestone blocks with stripped oak wood. And just like I did in the other habitat, I'm going to raise the walls. In this habitat, I want to make some gold details. But before that, I need to replace all these floor blocks with stone blocks. To make it even cooler, I'm going to do the same thing on the wall. I'm going to make a transition between the floor block and these woods by placing stone in the middle of them. To avoid everything being made of stone, of course, I'm going to randomize it a bit, and I'm going to place cobblestone. In addition, I'm going to scatter some gold ores to look like his chain. And here on the side, I'm going to make a small mountain with gold blocks. We're almost finishing the construction. The only thing I need to do is place a fence on top of the wall. And this is the final result of this construction. It turned out very cool. I made a lot of gold details, as you can see, because since he's a rapper, he has a lot of gold. I even put in some gold leaves. Comment below in the comments if you liked it, because the score I'm going to give this will be a 6 out of 10 for the construction. And as for the 3D model of the Gangster Futura Criminalera, despite the 3D model being simple, I think it's worth a score of 7 out of 10. And now, let's go to the next character that I'm going to recreate here in Minecraft, which will be the Rhino Toasterino. And since we don't have any rhinos here in Minecraft, the mob I chose to transform into him will be the cow. And here is her 3D model. So just like I did with the other mobs, I'm going to delete every part of her body. I'm going to start making the Rhino Toasterino from his leg, and it will be very small like this. Between the two legs, I'm going to create a small cube like this, and on top of that, I'm going to create a giant cube to be the toaster. I just can't forget that on top of this toaster, there is also a piece of bread. Before making his head, I'm already going to take the opportunity to make the right and left arm. In front of the toaster, I'm going to make his head more or less like this, and actually, this is very strange. To try to improve this, I'm going to create a cube like this. It is a little tilted. This is because I'm going to need to make a horn here. Now make another one on top of his head, and another a little further forward. To finish, I just need to make the left and right ear, and the 3D model is finally ready. Here in Minecraft, we can see better how he turned out. This turned out very well. He also keeps saying Rhino, Rhino, Toasterino. Look at that. This is very funny. And if I spawn a lot of them, it will be an infernal noise. Look at this. My God, it's a lot of noise. Let me kill all of them so I don't have to keep listening to this noise. And with the mob standing still, we can see very well how this turned out in comparison to the real image. This turned out incredible. It is simply identical. Even the bread turned out very cool here. Not to mention the texture also turned out very good. I tried to make the toaster as similar as possible. I even made its buttons. I tried to make the Rhino Toasterino with an open mouth, and I think that also turned out a bit funny. At the same time, his eye turned out a bit terrifying, but in the end, I believe that this turned out very beautiful. But before we go to build his next habitat, I want to have a battle between the Rhino Toasterino versus the Orangutini Ananas. The two have the same amount of health and the same amount of damage per hit, but the one who won this battle was the Orangutini Ananas. Now the battle will be between the Gangster Futura Criminalera versus the Rhino Toasterino. Let's see who will win this time. The Rhino Toasterino has to win this time. Let's go. And he won this battle. This means he deserves a special habitat, and the place where I'm going to build will be right here. And I'm already going to start flattening this whole area that is inside this cobblestone marking. I'm going to take advantage of the fact that the shape of the habitat is perfectly ready to replace all these wall blocks with cyan concrete. Since this part of the wall turned out a bit low, I'm going to take the opportunity to increase it. So this wall doesn't have just one solid color. I'm going to place some cyan blocks and also cyan concrete powder. As for the floor, I'm going to fill it with gray concrete powder. On top of the wall, I'm going to place cyan glass panes. And as a decoration, I'm going to place some furnaces. In the middle here, I'm going to place a table with some bread on top too. And in this right corner of the habitat, I'm going to plant some wheat. I made this decoration like this with some bread and some furnaces, since even though the Rhino Toasterino is a rhino, he is also a toaster. And a toaster is normally used to toast bread. And even though this decoration is very simple, I believe it doesn't deserve a score that is too low, nor a score that is too high. I think a 5 out of 10 is worth it. As for the 3D model of the Rhino Toasterino, it turned out very cool, and that's why my score will be 8 out of 10. So let's go to the next character that I'm going to recreate here in Minecraft, which will be the Frigo Camello. And he is this character that has a camel's head, his body is a refrigerator, and he wears giant boots. And the mob I'm going to transform him into is of course going to be the Minecraft camel. And here is his 3D model, so let's delete all the parts of his body. And if I delete them one by one, it will be a lot of work. So I'm going to select everything and delete it all at once. And now I can start creating the Frigo Camello. And the first thing I made was the refrigerator, and it turned out very cool. Look at that. And here I'm going to create 2 cubes to be the sole of the shoe. Between the sole of the shoe and his foot, I'm going to make a cube like this. And to finish, I'm going to create another cube here. Now, I'm going to select all these parts since there are a lot of cubes, and I'm going to duplicate them to the side. Since Frigo Camello doesn't have arms, we can go straight to his head. But before that, I need to make the neck. So I'm going to start by creating a cube like this. Now make another one facing up. On top of that, I'm going to make the camel's head. And in front of it, I'm going to make the snout. And that's how the final result of this character turned out. Here in Minecraft, we can see better how this turned out. And I really like this model. It wasn't very difficult to make since it uses few cubes, but even so, this turned out very cool, especially his walking animation. As you can see, he walks very fast. And there is also this other animation of him standing still where he kind of turns his foot to the side here to look natural. I put his model side by side with the photo. And here we can see how realistic this turned out. I didn't make this part that is under his head, which I thought was a bit strange. I decided to leave it without. Not to mention that this one is also a slightly lighter color and this one I made a bit brown. But even so, I liked it a lot. And that's why my score will be 8 out of 10. Now, I want to see a battle of him against the Orangutini Ananasini. Let's see who will win. The Orangutini Ananasini didn't lose any, I think. And the Orangutini Ananasini won once again. Now, it will be against the Gangster Futura Criminalera, and let's see who will win. The two are fighting each other. And the Frigo Camello lost another battle. And the next battle will be against the Rhino Toasterino. And this time, the Frigo Camello has to win. He can't lose this one. Let's go. Let's see. Let's go. And he lost again. Even though he lost all the battles he fought, let's make a beautiful habitat for him. So I'm going to start by replacing all these cobblestone blocks that are around the habitat with iron blocks. I'm already going to take the opportunity to raise these walls, and the idea of using these iron blocks is to make it look like the texture of a refrigerator, just like I did in the other habitats. In this one too, I'm going to break this tip of the wall because I think this makes the construction even more beautiful. I'm going to place other variants of the iron block on the wall to make this even more beautiful. The floor I'm going to make with packed ice block, just like I did on the walls. In this one too, I'm going to alternate with other blocks. On top of the wall, I'm going to place these ice spelia. Finally, I'm going to place some snow blocks scattered here, as if it were a real refrigerator. And in the middle of the habitat, I'm going to plant this tree that looks like a cherry tree, but it has white leaves. And the final result of this turned out simply incredible. And even though I didn't place many decorations, the score I'm going to give this will be 8 out of 10. Comment your opinion below in the comments. And now let's go to the last character I'm going to recreate here in Minecraft, who will be Ballerino Lolo, who is this muscular character with a milkshake body and also practices ballet. And the mob to transform into him also has to be super strong, and that will of course be the Iron Golem. And that's why I've already thrown his 3D model here into the modeling program, and I'm already going to start deleting all the parts of the body. I'm going to start making Ballerino Lolo from the leg. Underneath this cube I created, I'm going to create another slightly smaller cube to be his ballet slipper. And on top, I'm going to make a slightly larger cube to be the rest of the leg. Now I'm going to select everything and duplicate to the side. On top of his legs, I'm going to make the skirt like this. And from that, I'm going to make a milkshake cup that will be the torso of his body. So I'm going to create a slightly larger cube here to be his head. Now add a small detail here on top as if it were a hat. And in addition, on top of all this, I'm going to make the straw. For the arm, I'm going to create a small cube on the side. Now make a slightly larger cube to be his biceps. And this other slightly thinner cube is the forearm. To avoid repeating everything again, I'm going to select all these parts and duplicate to the side. And Ballerino Lolo is finally ready. Here in Minecraft, we can see the comparison between the photo and the character I recreated in Minecraft. This turned out very well. I believe that of all the characters I recreated in this video, this was the one I liked the most. The 3D model also turned out very good, and that's why my score will be 10 out of 10. And he's not just pretty, okay? He has a lot of strength. Look at that. He deals a lot of attack damage. He takes away more than 3 hearts of health. Oh no, I'm gonna die. Get out of here. Get out of here, Ballerino Lolo. But now, I want to see if all this strength is capable of finishing off all these characters. And instead of making him battle each one of them, I'm going to create a team mega battle with all the characters. Comment below which team you are rooting for. But before breaking the glass for the battle to begin, let's make Ballerino Lolo's habitat, so I'm already going to start replacing our cobblestone markers with stripped azalea wood blocks. I'm already going to take the opportunity to raise the walls to make this a little more beautiful. I'm going to place some random planks on the wall. On top of it, I'm going to place fences. And on the inside of the habitat, I'm going to replace the grass floor with quartz block. To prevent this habitat from being empty inside, I'm going to place some cherry leaves right in the corner of the walls. Finally, I'm going to place some benches here, as if it were a square. And this is the final result of the construction. It turned out very cool. I really liked these benches, especially these cherry leaves. I had already made a pink habitat like this before for the cappuccino ballerina, but Ballerino Lolo's turned out even better. And that's why why my score for the habitat will be 9 out of 10. And let's start the mega battle with just this command. It has begun, guys. Who will win? Which team are you rooting for? Look, there are several groups joining together to hit the other one here. I want to see who will win this time. I don't know who I'm going to root for. Actually, it's pretty divided, but it seems that a team here is losing. There's another battle here. Now, these two are battling, and another battle is happening here. Will the Gangster Futura Criminalero win? And he won. How? And he managed to win with half of the team alive. Comment below if you were rooting for him. And take the opportunity, watch this video that is appearing on the screen. You will like it a lot.